Wait, Jimmy, talk.
Went. Sorry,
Oh
I
yeah,
muted
yeah, yeah.
myself.
No, good. There nothing came out that first time. Um, so here
Just what
we
we
are.
need.
Yep.
Audio issues to start.
Yes. Josue Pavon will not be on the show tonight. Um,
Come on.
no one will
One game
end the stream.
suspension.
No one will prematurely end the stream. I'm still waiting for someone to fess up to that from last time.
Yeah, what
Um,
happened there?
I don't know. Um,
I blame Bobby.
I do blame Bobby. Remember the one time he did do it? He was like,
Yeah.
"What
He texted
happened?" We're
us
like,
OMFG.
"No." First, he was like,
All
"Did you
right.
guys do
It's not a
that?"
laughing matter. It's not funny. Okay?
There's nothing funny tonight. So
Get serious.
you wanted me mad last game. I'm mad this game, but I'm like
Thank
calm
you.
mad.
Sherrod Blakely.
I'm not. I'm not like I'm not gonna throw chairs, but it's pretty pathetic here. I mean, it's like it's that swing thing again. They played like ass most of the night. A lot of your ball, my ball, 2021 Celtics sort of stuff. Even when it was, even when they were making some shots. Um,
Hit your free throws. I'll say
you
it.
know,
Hit your freaking
it,
free throws.
yeah, it was just it
You can't
wasn't a
even say
great
it straight.
game.
Hit your
They
free
weren't really
throws.
connected. They didn't really start playing defense until kind of in that fourth quarter there, and then they really did. That the lineup that I want to see, Jimmy. That's the lineup that I like.
Me
I
too.
want to see the foursome of Brogdon, Tatum, um, uh, smart Brogdon,
Brogdon,
Tatum,
Tatum,
Brown, and
Rob.
Rob. That's the
There
four I
you
want to
go.
see, and I don't care who the
You
fifth
sure?
guy is. I don't care who the fifth guy is. That's the four I said I wanted to see. I want to see them out there more. People on Twitter, there was a few people like, oh, Brogdon isn't good at defense, and defense is the only thing that matters, and they can't be playing him right now. And it's like, and Brogdon didn't have a great offensive game, but just score some freaking points, guys, and you win the game. Why did they lose? Because they shut down. Fine, everyone, you're gonna point at the Jalen free throws. Those were disgusting. You can't
That's a
do that.
micro reason why. That's the micro reason why they lost. For sure. You
You
can't do
want
that.
to be
And
a
then, honestly, that's not the first time he has gone completely choke job at the
yeah.
line.
You want to be a star, hit your freaking free throws with the game on the
That's
line.
tough. Yeah, that's you don't want to have that situation come up again in an even bigger game.
So that sucked. But they just stopped playing. They just, let's walk the ball up the court and Tatum will get it. And
Well,
just barely made it across half court with at the 8 second mark. And here I am, top of the key, and I'm going to dribble. And here comes the double. I'm going to pass out of it. And what do you know? There's 9 seconds left on the clock now. There's just too much of that. Like I just don't get the slow down, walk up sort of stuff, getting out of your offense. Just you get 5 quick points, you go up there, step on their throat, end this friggin' game, go home, call it a night. You just had a
are you
nice
talking?
comeback
Are you talking about the
in
fourth
overtime.
quarter?
In overtime, it was so
Okay.
frustrating watching them just kind of just die there in OT. ISO,
Yeah.
ISO. Here we go. It's the same thing. Slow walk it up the court and just take forever to get into anything, and always a forced ISO contested shot. Just brutally bad. I mean, so again, yeah, and someone just put in the chat, there's 10 reasons. You could go backwards and stack like 15 different things that cost this team the game. You could pick any one of them. It's just brutal. It was brutal.
You can. I mean, I don't know if they were just gassed because that was a really good or great fourth quarter
Excellent comeback. The last 5 minutes there, yeah.
It was a complete reversal of the game in Miami. I mean, a complete reversal. I don't know. I can't figure this team out to be. I mean, I know that they had different, and again, I know they had more players tonight than they had in Miami. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. But just the effort that they showed in the fourth quarter, Tatum just kind of basically taking over there, and then Brown contributing. But man, you're right, John. I mean, that overtime, I don't know if they were gassed. I don't know what it was, but the ball movement stopped. I mean, both teams really were missing wide open shots. The Celtics got some good looks, couldn't get them to fall. And again, I'm not going to harp on it because it's pretty self explanatory, but you went to the line with a chance to take the lead. I mean, bend your legs a little bit. I don't know what, I don't know. I mean, he was well short. You missed the first one. You make a little bit of an adjustment and you sink the second, and you miss the second one the same exact way you missed the first one. So that frustrates the hell out of me.
Yeah,
I
the ball
mean, barely made it
barely
there.
got above the rim at any point in its
Throwing
trajectory.
line drives
It
at it.
was
I don't
just a
know.
shot put line drive, just
Do you
flat
need
right
like
at the rim.
sugar, like some sugar
But
to
you
get
go
some
up
energy up
5-0
there? Or what?
OT and you get outscored 10-2 down the stretch. They scored the first 5 points in the first minute 30,
Derek
and
White
then
with
they
the
just go,
three.
yeah, then they go 330 with nothing.
Oh
Just
man,
brutal.
yeah. I mean, at home, this is a game they had to win. I mean, are we talking about another stretch here? This is
But just
another bump in the road stretch. There was going to be like West Coast all over again, or
I don't know. It's just bad basketball. So again,
yeah, but the
a lot
bad
of people were
habits,
like,
right?
yeah, and that's why you harp on those two games in Florida. A lot of people are like,
That's
I put no stock in those Florida games.
well, you are one of them.
I mean, I wasn't shocked that they might lose that game, but you're still going to point out stuff that you is and say like, hey, that was bad. So there was plenty of bad stuff that they did there in those Florida games. You just never want to see those bad habits there. But I mean, just in terms of how they went, um, after scoring 150 in the possessions, Tatum, ISO misses a layup. Brogdon misses a three. Horford missed three. Uh, what else did they have? I think there was an offensive foul on Horford as well. Um, Tatum with a loose ball foul. Tatum misses a contested three. Rob gets that rebound. Tatum follow. Just bad. Tatum, by the way, just like stop pretended Jaylen Brown didn't exist in overtime. Never got the ball to the point that Joe Mazzulla threw up that play where he's like, Jason, you're going to stay in the backcourt
Yeah.
over here.
Your audio's being funky, dude. Just so you know.
How's it now? Am I tin can?
No, you were just kind of in and out, but you're okay right this second.
Oh, sorry.
I could hear you, but it just letting you know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
you're
just
right. Yeah,
bad.
the
And
drip to play
then
for Jalen. Yeah, Tatum kind of went in single player mode for a while there, but
went into solo
I'm
mode.
not that upset about it because he was doing his thing, and the Celtics were making a comeback, and they did force overtime. Now, he had a very clean look to win the game. I was a little bit surprised that Tibbs didn't try to bring a double team his way, like reminiscent of Miami. He let Tatum go one-on-one, and Tatum got a clean look, honestly. And it just rimmed out. Rob had a little follow-up opportunity, and I think he got blocked or he got hacked, one or the other. But either way, I wasn't mad with that look. But you're right, John. Once it went into overtime, it was almost like, let's just chuck shots up and hopefully we'll hit more than they hit. And that's just not a way to do it. The Knicks, they fought pretty damn hard to do. I mean, you got to give Randall a shout out, man. I mean, he's Bobby again. Didn't you say Bobby might have to do an apology cam for Randall?
And for Grant and for everything and for Cornette.
Yeah.
This is why I don't do
too.
apology cams.
We need to bring up.
Because I'll eventually be proven right.
Yeah. G League Player of the Month hanging out in Maine, apparently.
Yeah.
Bring him up. Why not? They're playing Kevin Jelly.
Talking about why Jalen, a lot of people were like Jalen was a ghost. He was invisible out there. He had more shots than Tatum for most of this game because every single time he touched the ball in the early part of the game, he shot it. I think he shot like 90% of the time the ball touched his hands. He still shot 22 times tonight.
To make up for lost time.
That's hardly invisible. He was awful.
1 of 8 from three. I mean, damn, dude. I feel like he's had too many of those games.
Jalen was awful. It just wasn't his night, but he was just forcing it. He's just not within the flow and just kind of forcing shots. So you do wonder how much that impacts him not getting the ball late. If the person giving it up knows that they'll never get it back. If that's the vibe, and like as soon as they get rid of this, it's just going up. And when Jalen disappears like he did tonight, you do wonder if that's at play. I'm being told by our producer Amit, who's at the game.
What's up, Amit?
That Joe had kind of like a weird interaction, I think those are the only interactions Joe has, right?
What's the news portion of this segment?
But we're just gonna play it. It was kind of asked, and
I'm excited to hear this
paraphrase.
because I have no idea what it's about.
I'm gonna paraphrase. He was asked what went wrong tonight. So here's Joe Mazzulla responding to that.
Where did you see that went wrong then, and even prior to that in the second half, where did things kind of go wrong?
Yeah, just not getting to our space and moving the basketball.
What do you have to do to clean that up?
Space and move the basketball.
When you made the comeback, like what changed at the end of the fourth quarter?
We picked up our defensive pressure, forced them into some turnovers, and then we got to our spacing and passed the basketball.
He does not respect you or any reporter or anybody.
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 All, ever.
So here's what it comes down to with Joe. Joe is.
I thought it was going to be worse. That seemed
worse.
about on par.
But I finally figured out Joe Mazzulla and these ridiculous answers with reporters. Joe Mazzulla does nothing in life but basketball. He's obsessed with it. He prepares, studies, knows the game inside and out. He's smarter than you. He's smarter than us. He's smarter than everyone in that room times 1,000. And he does not suffer fools at all. And he thinks we're all fools. And he's not wrong. That's the thing is, though, Joe, that's always the case. The coaches always know way more than everybody in there. So you can't do that. Like, you can't be that way just because you have greater knowledge. Of course you have greater knowledge. Otherwise, the guys in the seats would be coaching and you'd be asking the questions. That it's not
Right.
It's not a competition. I don't know why he gets so mad that anybody. How dare you ask me a question? He's so defensive that you don't have the right to ask me because you're dumber about basketball than I am. Everybody's dumber about basketball than you are. Every reporter is. There's no reporter.
Well, easy. Don't speak for me.
There is no reporter smarter than a coach when it comes to basketball. It doesn't exist.
What about an intern
No
coach?
question would ever be answered in the history of time.
No, I agree with you. I think Joe needs to not take the questions. Is he taking them personally?
Yes.
Like, dude, I know, but it's like he shouldn't, because these guys' jobs, reporters' jobs, is to get answers and then relay that information to the fans. So we're trying to get information. If you want it to be an accurate story, and if you want the facts to be out there, then give the information that's going to help them write the facts and write the story and explain what went wrong. We're asking you an open-ended question, allowing you to tell us where it went wrong out there. If you're going to give us 4 words, then you're leaving it up for the talking heads on the radio tomorrow or on TV on ESPN. You're leaving it up to the reporters to try to figure it out for themselves. So how is that a better avenue to take?
By the way,
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, honestly,
like two
wonder.
things. Yeah.
He actually
Go
did
ahead.
call a couple timeouts tonight too, which was nice in situations that were
I
obvious.
thought Joe coached well tonight. I got no problem with what
Yeah,
Joe did.
I
I loved
don't-
what they did down the stretch. The doubling the Knicks, putting a lot of ball pressure on them, trying to get them to rush their offense to get quicker shots so they could, because you're down 10, 12 points with 5 minutes to go. You had to get it going. You couldn't. No, I mean, that Pop is a great, example of just that basketball bully. Like, yeah, we get it, you friggin'. You're a genius. You know about dribbling basketballs. You're the smartest guy alive. It's just basketball. You're not actually smarter than everybody in that room, but you're smarter about basketball. Just leave it alone. Have some respect for people. That's a separate issue. I actually don't care when coaches stonewall media. It's really it's a media story. It's not a real story. But the coaching story, I know a lot of people are on Joe with the coaching. I thought he coached well tonight, because I do think that really – I mean, that's him. That's him saying, we got to pressure, we got to double, we got to get the ball out of their hands quicker. They did a really good job there, and the Celtics did a good job not losing guys on the backside when they were coming there and putting ball pressure and trying to get the Knicks out of rhythm and out of their offense and trying to rush their offense a little bit. And they did. They came back just like that. Boom, 10, 12 points. And the comeback was great, and then 5 points to OT. They should have stomped them, but I'm getting more reports from the field, so let me see.
What do we got here?
Oh.
I mean,
I need clarity on what this one's about, but Joe was talking about Jalen's misses. Hold on one second.
and
Um,
yeah, I mean, listen. As a somebody who used to be in the media room asking all those questions, I never took it personal when a guy didn't want to answer the question, but I never understood why, because I was like, dude, like, help me help you. If you like this, I'm trying to write this article and accurately, explain what went wrong or what went right or whatever. It's like, I understand that you're competitive, and he's probably mad. I mean, I would be mad too. So it's tough for some of these coaches and players to answer these questions right after a game when they haven't really even come down off of it yet. And maybe there's something a little bit there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, to have, like, consistently be this way, it's not going to end well.
It's not going to end well.
When it does go bad, it's only going to go worse, because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of media members around Boston that they're going to be here. They're going to continue to be here for a long time, and coaches come and go. And
Jimmy Toscano's not going anywhere. Bobby Manning's not going anywhere.
I ain't leaving. I ain't leaving. So just something to think about. But
you're dying to talk about the Patriots thing, aren't you?
A little bit, but
we'll get
I'll hold
to
my
it.
tongue. I'll hold my tongue.
But by the way, as an aside, sometimes I do ad reads on the show. I'll do cross-promotional stuff. Andrew Callahan, terrific reporter for the Boston Herald, terrific, with an amazing behind-the-scenes story with Karen Garigian on the dysfunction with the Patriots. You should, one, read it, but two, listen to the pod, because the pod goes even deeper and talks that without giving too much away. It went even far deeper than what they could print, because they had to corroborate every single story three or four different times. But the anecdotal stuff they heard from extremely well-trusted sources that they couldn't corroborate by getting them confirmed by multiple sources was like jaw-dropping stuff. So like there could be another story behind this once more of that stuff comes out or is corroborated. That's even more like, oh my God, it's even worse than the bad, I thought. Anyway,
we all knew it was bad, but this is like, wow.
Great story. Go listen to the podcast too. Andrew does a good job explaining how they got the story, how many people they talked to, and really gives you a vibe of like people were just like, what the F is going on here? So if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. It's really, really good. This is Joe talking about, and let me get it loaded up here. The misses at the end of the game, and again we've got our guys in the field delivering us sound on the fly here as the game is ending. Love it. Here's
where else are you gonna get that, huh?
Where else are you gonna get it turned around that fast? Here's Joe on JB's misses.
We just spoke outside, but Jalen is a guy who can kind of get down on himself, particularly after missing the free throws. Do you have a conversation with him?
I love you, Jalen.
Anything more than that, and anything going forward?
I love you, Jalen, and I believe in you.
I couldn't wait to see your face.
Oh my God, dude.
I love you, man. That's my quarterback.
You, I believe in you.
That's my shooting guard.
I believe. It's my quarterback.
That's my shooting guard.
I love you, Jalen.
I don't know,
Come on, man. Give us something.
All sorts
this
of
is
weird.
What it's gonna be.
Hold on.
I mean, honestly, that probably is what he said. I mean, what are you gonna say in the situation? The guy missed a couple free throws. It just, there's nothing you can really say or nothing you can do to prevent that from happening. I mean,
I love you, man.
I love you, Jalen.
I love you, Jalen.
I believe in you.
Stay golden, Jalen.
Stay golden.
Oh crap! Where is the pod? People are asking. If you go to our Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, you can watch it there. Obviously, it's also anywhere you can get your podcast: Spotify, Apple. The podcast is called Pat's Interference. See what we did there? Pat's Interference.
Like Pat.
With Andrew Callahan. But it is available on our Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel where you can watch it and see he and Karen, who broke the story, talking about it, for those of you who are asking. Yes, no Pat's talk, Marlon. I apologize. It was a promo.
Yeah. Hey, that's fair. It was a big story today.
It's big story. It's Pat's or pizza later in the show. We'll get there. But for now, you're right. We'll focus mainly on mainly on Celtics. I need more Joe. Someone's got to send me more Joe.
Yeah, can we get another clip? Somebody ask another question.
But send me more. Don't let that guy off the podium. Like the guy in the back who does the play it off music, don't play him off the stage. Let him keep going. This stuff is gold.
Oh man, I love you, Jalen.
I love you,
It
Jalen.
was a stone. Can you play it one more time?
All right, I'll play one more time.
We just spoke outside, but Jalen is a guy who can kind of
Look
get
at
down
his-
on
look
himself,
how
particularly
stone-
after missing the free
stone
throws.
face
Is that? Do you have a conversation with him?
I love you, Jalen.
Anything more than that, and anything going forward?
I love you, Jalen, and I believe in you.
Abby gave it a shot.
She did.
Abby gave it a little follow. I don't even know if I would have had a follow up ready for that.
I love you, Jimmy.
Yeah, man.
Anytime Bobby does something. Did
I believe in you, Bobby.
Did you talk to Bobby? I love you, Bobby.
Bobby totally screws up like an interview. I love you, Bobby.
I love you, Bobby. I love you, man.
Oh man, I have a feeling Bobby just watched that. I have a feeling he probably didn't get too involved in the questions of that one. I used to pick and choose too. After a loss, I might just be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm just gonna sit this one out."
It's a pretty weird one, man. It's a pretty weird one. All right, so I want to know what like we're not in the killing people portion of the season.
That's it.
They still have the best record in basketball. But are you seeing those little cracks in the armor that worry you about stuff? And that's always what it comes down to. It's like, what do we look at, Jimmy? What does it mean? Okay, I'll tell you right now. And how intensely are you following the chat?
How intensely am I following the chat? I'm following it as best I can.
All right,
I was just
what do you
trying to
think-
match up the audio to your voice, and it wasn't lining up perfectly.
Who are the top three people? And if the chat was slicing up blame pie tonight, not just blame pie, hate pie, who's getting the biggest slices tonight? According to the chat, according to the fan base, according to Twitter, according to the test right now.
Well, is Jalen one?
Jalen is one. You know who another is?
Rob?
Grant. No, Rob
Grant.
Rob's
I heard
not
somebody
right.
saying Rob wasn't right over and over and over. I don't
Rob's not right physically. He can barely jump.
know. I thought
right
he
now.
played. I thought
But
he
he
was
still
effective.
played great.
Yeah, I know. That's why I would have been
He's
shocked. by
still
that.
good based
Grant.
off of,
I didn't say Grant because I forgot about him.
yeah.
I honestly forgot about him. I really did. So yeah, I guess that would make him one for sure.
Did you say anything to Grant after the game?
I forgot about you, Grant.
I forgot you, Grant. I forgot about you, buddy.
I don't believe in you.
Totally forgot about you, man.
Grant.
We're going to talk a little Jalen. We're going to talk a little Grant. We're going to welcome Bobby Manning into the program in a little bit. We're going to do all of these things because we have a little ways to go. But first, we're going to tell you about Athletic
AG1.
Greens, baby. athleticgreens.com/garden. You go there, you get your stuff. Jimmy, you stack it. What, beef organs maybe? Is that what I hear?
That's why I stack it.
That's what the kids-
AG1. Wash it. I wash the beef organs down with AG1 every morning. So today I actually drank it at the gym today. No big deal. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, prebiotics, biotics, adaptogens. People look that up. They don't even know what that means. But I'll tell you what. The good thing about Athletic Greens is it's your one-stop shop. You don't have to go vitamin shopping.
Yep.
Okay? And you might say, "Oh, it costs this much and I can only spend this much." Well, honestly, how much is your health worth? Is it worth enough to spend a couple extra bucks and not have to worry about whether or not you're getting the right vitamins and nutrients every day? Because I think you're worth that. How about that? So for me, it's an easy decision. I know it might not be super easy for everybody else, but you can use our athleticgreens.com/garden. You get the 1-year supply. You don't have to subscribe to this. You can do a one-time purchase, test it out, see how you like it, see how your body adapts to it and some of the changes that you'll find. I'm also stacking it, John, with an ice cold shower every morning. I'll let
That's a
everybody know that
good
little
point,
trick
by
too.
the way. You're not committing to like a lifetime supply. You get it, you test it for a month or so, you see how you feel. Ultimately, it comes down to what's going to be about $3 a day, which again, if you're trying to piece this together with a bunch of different supplements, shakes, powders, and blah, 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 you're going to be way, way over that money-wise. So as Jimmy said, go check it out, AG1. If you do just that first initial offer and you do it by going to athleticgreens.com/garden, you get that gift on the screen, the 1-year supply, vitamin D and the travel packs, and you get a phenomenal t-shirt because that's how we do it here
Yeah, you
on
know
the
what?
Garden Report.
It's budget season still. If you can budget, let's say you put $100 a month towards your health. Okay? See if AG1 fits into that and see how it feels. And if you like it, which I think you will, it'll be something that you'll want to incorporate. And you know what it is? It's also a good habit. Create some healthy habits, get yourself into a good routine. You'll start feeling a little better about yourself, and then that might lead to the next thing. All of a sudden, you'll be taking ice cold showers, just like I am. You'll be feeling energized in the morning. You'll hit the gym. You'll have all this free time to do other things in the evening if you can get up a little bit earlier, and take it from there. It all starts with one step. So make AG1 your first step.
I like
I
that.
love you. I love you, AG1.
I love you, AG1. I love you.
I believe in you, AG1.
That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say to you, AG1.
That's all I said.
That's all I said.
And you get a free Garden Report t-shirt.
Yeah, we do.
Phenomenal.
That's all we got to tell you. Anyway. I love you, AG1. But please support our sponsors. Honestly, you guys have been phenomenal. No joke. It's why they're still with us. For real. It's why they're with us. We appreciate it like crazy. Those of you who did, thank you. And those of you who haven't tried it, check it out. As Jimmy said, it might be right for you. Could never hurt. Give it a little test. See what you get.
A lot of smart people take it. Smarter people than us.
That is true.
And that's another reason why I take it, because I want to be smart by association.
So you tell me. A lot of people. Bobby said it in our chat. I've been saying it recently. I think he's about 50% physicality, maybe 50% condition right now. You're not seeing the full Rob. He's not at all the guy he was last year. He's still incredibly effective, just simply by being wily, still being able to get off the ground quick, having instincts, being a good passer, being alert, being aware. He does a lot of good things out there, and he still kind of is off. I mean, he's not getting off the ground. He's not. I mean, even on his alleys, he's grabbing them and laying them in. He had one time where he could have gone up for what should have been a ridiculous slam. He got out jumped by that other dude, Sims a ton, but that's nothing to be ashamed
normal
of.
Behavior.
No, that guy has, I think he was like the third highest leap in the Combine's history. He's
Didn't he block Rob? Was that him?
Jericho Sims has a 45-inch vertical, and he's 6'10", and he's one of the best leapers in the world. So I mean, that's not a shame. But I mean, you can see Rob doesn't have that get up right now at all, and he was still pretty effective. But he's not even close right now. So you do wonder is how much of this is still conditioning, where he's trying to get his way back, and how much of it is that knee's not even close to 100% and may never be there again. I don't know, because I think even a couple of weeks ago, you could see a little bit more jump and spryness to his game. It looks like he's either conserving energy like crazy because, like, put it this way, Jimmy, if you know you're going out and running 3 miles, you can kind of go at a good pace and be like, I'm running only 3 miles. But if you got to gear up for 5 miles, 8 miles, a half marathon, you're going to start slow and you're going to stay slow because the goal is to survive it. I wonder now that he knows he's starting and he's playing 30 minutes that he is pacing himself. That would be one possibility. The other is something's not right. I don't know. I
don't have a damn clue because some nights he does look very active out there and he's jumping around and he's deflecting balls. He's getting opponents out of position. He's drawing fouls. He's throwing down alley-oops. I mean, we saw it against the Heat.
And I did say it last year. This commenter is right, but he wasn't right last year, and then he got right. So I'm hoping that's the same thing this year. Yeah, right.
So I don't know where he's at either. I think the one thing we all know about Rob is that he takes his time. I mean, he is the Time Lord. So I don't know if he's just going at his own pace, easing back into things, and not trying to overdo it. He's probably being told all those things too. And sure, it is the regular season. You obviously want him to be healthy and spry for the playoff run. But John, I mean, I'm just as clueless as you are as anybody else is on what that knee looks like underneath there. You know, I don't know what we're working with. I don't know if
Hamburger.
yeah, ground beef. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I don't know if he's feeling knee pain. I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know. Is he icing that thing after every game? Is he sitting in, got the leg in the bucket, or he's got the ice packs on it? I imagine he's doing everything he can to get out there and play. I don't think he's playing through serious pain, or he wouldn't be playing. So I don't know what it is. But it is disheartening a bit because it's like what he's capable of, like the Rob Stonk year, when he was just like jumping through the roof, and he was taking, guys were like, people watching were like, who the hell is this guy? Like we
Right.
heard things about, we didn't know he was capable of this.
And yeah,
And, it feels like he's not on the same page as Tatum as they typically are. And I know they haven't really played a ton together, but Tatum said over and over how much he loves playing with this guy, and I'm just
he'll
hoping
pass him the
that.
freaking ball every once in a while.
Well, that's the other thing is like they don't go through him at all, like at all. He's not part of the offense. He's just not. His job is to just extend plays basically off misses. And the Celtics had a bunch of second chance points tonight. I'm sure he was a part of a good amount of those, just being in there. But they don't incorporate him in the offense. You're talking about a guy who has obvious above the rim ability to score, and he can cover ground quickly, but they just don't use him. And I don't know if that's just because it's all about the 3-point shot now with this team, and it's all about maximizing those. I mean, you're more likely to see Grant Williams take 12 3-pointers than you are to see Rob Williams take 8 field goals. It sucks, but that's just the way the NBA is, I guess, right now. So they're almost not utilizing him to his capabilities.
Yeah. You are not, and it is disappointing, but also, again, I just don't think he's entirely right. So I don't know what's going on there with him. Jaylen Brown hasn't been exactly right since coming back from his little groin situation, which wasn't a huge deal. Didn't keep him out a really long time. But he's been off a little bit. Hold on one second. I'm looking for something.
I know you're looking for something, I can tell.
I was, sorry. Well, I'm going to get Bobby on here too, I think. We're going to
That's
get
fine.
Bobby on here too and bring in Bobby Manning. What's up,
Is he
Bobby?
here? Oh, hell yeah. What's up,
Hey.
Bobby?
Oh, headband Bobby. I like it.
Bobby
What's going on?
Beige. Bobby Brown.
Yeah, that is my color.
What's Gucci?
Not a ton of dead locker room.
Did you get scolded by Joe too, or was that just everybody else? Not scolded, but did you get the cold shoulder?
No, I like Joe's game tonight. I did. It was actually my favorite part.
We
We
said
like the
that.
last 5 minutes of Joe's game tonight.
So what do you guys have a problem with otherwise?
Nothing. I don't know that there was that much going on in terms of how he coached until they started trapping and
Right.
and forcing the Knicks kind of hurrying up their offense in those last 5-6 minutes when they stormed back. I don't know what he did prior to that. I think most of the
Oh,
John.
did Joe
I don't
just
know,
John just lag out?
John
Yep.
you just spazzed.
Yeah.
my back.
Yep, you're back.
How much is on the players? How much is Joe not calling plays? But I mean, he had a ton of ugly ISO stuff. Not a lot of connectivity. Spacing. We didn't have spacing. But I don't know what Joe did to affect the game in the early part. You didn't like his rotations early, Bobby. But
Yeah,
then
I mean that's just how the bench is playing. So I'm going to point toward the players on this night.
But
They
the
were
bench was
playing-
pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, bad reads. Bench struggled against the Knicks' energy. Looked less athletic, less dynamic. Got run up and down the floor. So I think that there's not much Joe could have done there. But late, going to double big, love the defense. 7 straight stops, including a couple turnovers mixed in there. So I think over like 9 possessions, they got 9 stops in a row. They turned that into offense pretty well. They took advantage of a good prevent Knicks defense. It's just stinks to lose on free throws the way they did. And we've seen this from Jalen before. Obviously, it's not all on him. We'll go back and pick apart different pieces of the game that cost them. But I thought they were in a really good position there to go ahead, get one more stop, and steal this game in overtime with a great comeback win against what's a pretty gritty team, a really hard team to stop defensively too, with that 2-man game they were playing. But they're in a lull, you can tell. What I liked about Joe's game is he was really energized along the sideline, getting into guys, calling out Grant for that travel, just digging into them in the huddles. I'm sure you guys saw him mic'd up, kind of talking about the defense, connecting and different things on that end of the floor. I thought he made about as good of an effort as he could to wake this team up because they were pretty dead, lethargic, and complacent for a lot of this game. Too much ISO, too much slow play, and then the slow play ended up killing them again.
The slow play kills you in OT, Bobby. Right. I went on a massive rant. It's just you walk it up with Tatum, 8 seconds go off the clock. He dribbles, the double team comes, he passes it. You got 10 seconds on the clock. He gets it back with 6 or 7, and you force a shot. Like it's a mad scramble after that. When you slow walking up the court, it takes you forever to get into stuff. Keep the pace going. Another person who's been a massive target tonight, obviously Jaylen Brown, had a rough night, and then I thought he was awful all game. His shots were all forced. A lot of me ISO stuff. And again, when that stuff's going, you're like, look at Jaylen Brown cooking. When it's not, it's like these are a series of really awful shots. And tonight it was just some bad shots. Couldn't hit anything from 3. Was kind of forcing that that pull up jumper with people in his face. Nothing going down, but he acquits himself well with a much-needed bucket that gives him a lead there late in overtime after he hadn't really touched the ball in OT at all. And then he gets to the line for what should have been 2 free throws to take the lead, and he smokes them both. Didn't even come close. We heard Joe Mazzulla talking about Jaylen Brown's missed free throws, and that was pretty emotional. Let's hear Jaylen Brown talk about it as well.
What are your emotions going through that and after that?
I just got to be better. To be honest, tonight was just a rough game, and I'm a better basketball player than I played today. And those 2 missed free throws kind of embody like the whole game, for me. Didn't really get it going, didn't give my team enough energy to win. And that's what happens when you don't come out and give your best. And I'll be better.
Fair. Self-accountability, John.
Love the accountability. Good answer. He wasn't great tonight. Has to be better. But what's happening here with the Tatum and Brown stuff? Are we seeing a bit of a kind of a return to
who's missing right now?
The old operating dynamic of
Bobby's saying it's because Marcus isn't in the game.
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
Big difference.
I don't disagree. I think the Marcus stuff is always underrated until he's gone. You really.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, who's running the offense? They don't have a true point guard, really.
Yeah, and one of the things Joe talked about with me post-game is the decision-making around the rim. And a lot of the times that is Jaylen there. Is he putting the ball up? Is he making the right reads out of that spot, especially when they get him going downhill? Tatum's turnovers. Joe pointed toward turnovers as a significant reason they lost. He liked the defense. He did not like the offense. And, in fact, we've always heard Joe talk up these efforts. He said that they didn't play good tonight. And a lot of that came down to turnovers, bad reads around the rim. He's starting to see that slip in recent weeks. And this is why the Magic and Heat game concerned me, John. Even though guys were out, I didn't like the style they played with. I didn't like the way Brown and Tatum played in those games.
Right.
And I think they are slipping back into some of the easy ways to play for them, going head on and trying to do so much by themselves instead of continuing to press these multiple layers of offense. How much did Horford and Rob play a role in facilitating offense? And I thought they just did nothing in terms of having the ball in their hands and being able to create for other guys, getting Brown and Tatum off the ball.
No, I mean,
they didn't trust those guys at all.
They never do. It's just, it doesn't, again, it's so weird. You get into these habits of like, I don't know what it is, I've always said, I don't think either of these guys is about stats per se. I just think both of these guys, when things are tough, they always think that, well, it's on me. I'm a leader. I'm a scorer. I got to do it. And then they just try to do it by themselves. And
This
then
is
just
what's
forget.
natural to them.
And it's what's natural, and that's the thing that it's really hard to not go back to it because that's their basketball identity. Jaylen Brown's basketball identity is I'm really, really, really good at scoring. I can get by people. I can get to the rim. I can play through contact. I can rise up and shoot over them. So I just got to get the ball and just do that. But you can't do that without just being all about you. And Jason Tatum is watch me dribble and pull up and sidestep and get to the lane and blah blah blah. But it's about him. There's not a lot about their games that they do off the ball. You know, neither one of these guys is Steph Curry, running around 40 screens trying to get open to catch and shoot. It's just not what they do. But we've seen clear evidence that they work better and the entire offense works better when they're moving the ball and moving without the basketball. They just fall out of it. And I don't know how they can go games and stretches of games this way without. And again, this is where it comes to Joe. Like, hey guys, let's do the other thing. You know, let's do that. I don't know how much of that falls on Mazzulla or not, or how much is just beyond his control. And it's just, well, there they did it again. And you've heard him say, like, get into multiple.
You're out. We lost you.
Yeah, we
How about
lost
now?
you.
You're okay.
It's just blinking out here. Joe's saying, like, get into multiple actions. Don't just do one thing. You know, you just don't see them do it enough.
I thought for the first time tonight, Joe, like really all season, Joe was kind of down on what they're doing right now. They've stressed things throughout the year, habits, and they're almost seemingly slipping on them just because guys are missing, or they went on that 9-game win streak and they're just sort of resting on their laurels. Like they know what they need to do, and it's the inconsistency is what's maddening right now. We talked about on Spaces last night the stats, John, since November. They're not a good offense. And this is a significant sample size we're looking
Now
at.
you're talking about nearly two months.
Yeah.
More of the season has been a
stretch.
Most of the season they've spent as a bottom 10 offense, and then they spent 5 weeks as a historically good offense. But actually the sample size of really bad offensive play is much larger.
Yeah, and they're looking for threes to bail them out. They ride to that hot start off hot shooting. They go up to 15, and then they blow it immediately by just running bad offense and slipping up defensively too. I wasn't as high on the defense tonight for the first 3 quarters as Joe was. I thought they really got cut up by Randall and Brunson in that 2-man game. Bad rebounding at certain points in the second half too cost them. And then they go to that double big lineup late, which looks great right now. So that's sort of the only positive you take out of this one. But I don't even know what to say about this offense right now. We talked about the regressing threes, that impact. We've talked about how important Smart is out there. And when he leaves, it was great to get involved in that playmaking role against Miami. Brown returns, and he's just not able to supplement the playmaking that they lost with Smart being out. And then Tatum, the turnovers creeping up over the last couple of weeks here is a killer because I thought he was so good at controlling the ball early in the year, at least in his off-ball role. So you worry about him in the playoffs having more ball time. He's got the record for turnovers in a postseason. Like, is he ready for more ball time in the playoffs?
That's another Marcus Smart offshoot, though.
Yeah. But,
he could
be missing in the playoffs.
The less Marcus Smart, the more you run the offense through Tatum and sometimes Brown, the more those guys are forced to make plays because they are trying to initiate the offense and they try to get things going to the basket. The more they get jammed up with a bunch of bodies around them, and the more they force weird passes to, places that they can't really go. And so that's, I think, why you're seeing that uptick in turnovers. Tatum's just being kind of put back into that playmaker role. And Bobby, we talked about this last year, just not loving him as like the point forward in the offense running through Tatum, at least in the early part of the year.
How about him in crunch time? Oh my, just leaning jump shots. Again, we've talked about this too. Settling. When they have 22-ish seconds on the clock for the last shot of regulation, they drain it all. Oh, and then he just launches one. Rob doesn't have enough time to put it back. Rob's got the offensive rebound, but there's no time.
I
left.
like that shot. He shook the defender and got a pretty damn clean look, and he
got a
got
good
going
look,
with
but they had no time for the putback.
Yeah, but I mean,
and I know
there
he
was
got blocked, but
there was a second and a half
Yeah, I like that
more
shot too.
clock than there was shot clock. So in
I know
fact,
it's
you really
conventional.
you did need to take that down.
I know some of the things they did late were good conventional thinking, even in overtime, holding the ball with the lead. But this team just can't
worked.
slow down. This team,
It's
yeah,
a
like it never
defense.
works.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, it never works for them, and they really let it go in overtime. You know, they took a 5-point lead early, a couple minutes in, forced a couple
5-point
stops.
lead in the first 90 seconds, didn't score for the next 3 minutes.
Brutal. They had this one, even at the free throw line late, which we can keep harping on. There's a million things to really be frustrated with out of this one, and this is one of many teams you could see in a playoff series, and it looks like they're able to make it tough for you out there with their defense and with that offense around Randall. Randall, man, those dunks crashing down on Horford and Tatum.
The one on Tatum too, which should have been with his right, but somehow he cups it and just stuffs it in his face with the left hand, was savage.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough love, does he, for the year he's having? I think we talked about that.
Not from you,
on
no.
Spaces.
Yeah.
The last show, yeah.
Not from you, certainly.
I don't know, Jimmy. Where you at on this one?
On this game? Well, this is why I was so.
Me and you. We didn't like the Florida trip at all.
Exactly. This is why I said you have to be a little bit more concerned and upset about games like that, because they kind of set things in motion one way or the other. So are you going to create good habits or are you going to create bad habits? Obviously I hated the way things ended up in Miami. I mean, that was pathetic. I don't care who's out there in the court. But tonight was different because it was like a totally opposite fourth quarter performance from them. They made the comeback. They put the clamps on the opponent and prevented them from scoring. What was it, like 20-something 5 run or something along those lines, like from the halfway through the fourth quarter, or when they were down 10 points, I think. They come all the way back in the fourth, and I was happy with that performance, but you guys are right. They start playing the clock, right? And they stop playing the opponent. They start thinking about dribbling the clock down and stop moving the ball around. And I was fine with the shot Tatum took because I thought he got a clean look at the end of the fourth quarter there. It rimmed out. So it is what it is.
How they tie the game, Jimmy? They're flying up the floor.
And who missed a three-pointer? I think Brogdon found somebody for a wide open three. Maybe it was Al, and he missed it. I think that was in the fourth quarter too. So there were a couple opportunities they had. The Knicks went completely cold. But yeah, in overtime, I think they just ran out of gas. I think they stopped doing what got them there. Joe called a couple of timeouts, credit to him. But whatever he said, clearly didn't quite get through. I know that they did. What's up, John?
Nothing. I was gonna ask Bobby a question, but finish what you were saying.
No, I mean I don't have anything that more groundbreaking to say. I'd rather hear from Bobby anyway. So
Bobby, because we were talking about it right when Bobby jumped on the Rob Williams stuff and how he looks, and Bobby has the benefit of being there, kind of seeing it kind of up close and personal. So I want to talk about both Williamses, Rob, who I know, Bobby. We know it was you. I know it was you, Bobby.
I love
you. Broke
you, Bobby.
my heart.
I believe in you, Bobby.
You broke my heart. So we're going to talk about both the Williams boys once that message comes off the screen.
Okay.
And once I put this up here, because we're going to tell you quickly about another one of our sponsors, Rocket Money. You got to check them out if you want to save yourself subscriptions. We're not saying the company.
I'm not going to see the company.
But right now, both Josue just got hit with $100 friggin' bucks. Okay, because he didn't sign up with Rocket Money. I did, and I didn't get hit with it because we had subscribed to the same thing, and we're not going to say what it is. $100, one shot, gone, poof.
Down
sorry.
the drain.
Someone could have told you about that, and that someone is Rocket Money. They find your subscriptions, all your active subscriptions, remind you of them, gives you an opportunity to decide whether or not, and the annuals are the ones that are going to get you, boy, because you can look in your bank
statement. You don't think about them.
And see, and you don't think about it, and then friggin', oops, I signed up for Masterclass, $250, bang, right in the face,
What?
and that just gets you. I'm not saying that can happen.
Yeah.
So Check this out.
That's the killer.
Go
The
there.
annual.
You know what? You know who got me?
Annual.
The annuals,
You know who got
man.
me? BSJ got me.
Oh, they did.
They got me. Which I mean, I gotta support BSJ, so I'm okay with it. But
Yeah, they're paying some of my
if I
bills,
wasn't,
Jimmy. Come on,
if it
show
was
some
like,
support.
no, I'm cool with it. I wasn't gonna make a deal. If it was like athletic though, I'd have been pissed.
Yeah. So go to rocketmoney.com/garden. You save hundreds canceling unnecessary subscriptions. Josue did not. Jimmy will, because now it's a cautionary tale, and he's realized, yes, I got to get this. I do not trust myself. I am a subscription addict. I think I have probably thousands of dollars out there. So I've cut a lot of them. I'm like that crazy person clipping coupons. You know, like I'm insane.
John will save $4 by subscribing to the monthly subscription.
Oh my God, so many things.
Those free trials, yeah. A lot of
I
stuff
legit
not knowing is the key.
On one of my text threads with a couple of my pretty well-read professional friends who have
Smart
the
friends.
Congrats on professional friends, man.
The Atlantic, WAPO, things that you would expect, blah blah blah. Look at the intellectual, and I'm like,
sounds like a whiff group chat, to be honest. But
I'm like, I was like,
that's not the Garden Report group chat.
I was like, does anybody want to split these with me? And
Jimmy
we were
has
kind
left
of
the
trading
chat.
off how many we have, and I listed how many things I could remember, and they're like, dude, you got a problem. So yes, I do. If you have a problem like me, check out Rocket Money. You'll at least get rid of some of that unnecessary stuff. You'll also get a Garden Report t-shirt, so check that out.
Yeah.
So Bobby, I did want to talk about, let's start with Rob. It's hard to argue that he was extremely effective and useful and one of their better players. And they were much better on the floor with him than they were off. He's a plus 21. Stuff happened when he was out there, but also at the same time, he doesn't look right. And you said it in our group chat. People are saying it here in the show chat.
People are talking.
That's what it looks like to me. He doesn't, and I said it a couple games ago, maybe last game. He's not the same guy. I said it on Spaces last night. He's not nearly as explosive as we've seen him at kind of the height of his powers.
Yeah, and the numbers probably still add up in terms of shot percentage against him being below 40%. He's held that for much of this year. So when he does contest shots individually, he does a good job. It's about getting there, though, and being in that position. And I didn't feel like until late he was in those positions to help on Randall and Brunson around the rim, or coming weak side on mismatches, especially when they had the bench units out there with Pritchard and Hauser and guys like that those guys could isolate. But it got better, right? Almost right after I sent that text. He had given up a couple of rebounds to Hartenstein as the Knicks really ramped up their offensive rebounding pressure. I thought he had a tough time defending the defensive glass. But late, he really turned it up, and he was a big part of that double big effort down the stretch that tied this game. I love the interception that turned into a Grant 3 at half court. I love some of the help plays he made down the stretch of the game, some of the trap in the corner. I think he was right there on that Randall turnover. So he got better and more active as the game went on. And I'm thrilled that Missoula put him out there. I was actually stunned Missoula put him out there for that last charge, and ended up being the most decisive decision of the game on either end, coaching-wise. I thought that's a big reason I love Joe's game. But in terms of what he looks like, John, you're right. There's just not sort of that flash and explosion that you saw a year ago, and I think it limited him in a couple of circumstances. Offensive rebounding, getting free down the lane.
He's
Sometimes
picking
guys can stick on him.
He's either picking his spots because he's conserving himself for the 30 minutes that he knows he's going to play now that he's back in the starting lineup, or physically he's not right.
Yeah. And he'll say he feels good, but we talked about it on Spaces too. He'll have good days and bad days. And physically, I thought he really gutted through one of his less athletic days and still had a good game, which is again, you said it, John. He's one of the bigger positives out of this one.
Bobby.
You outscored the Knicks by 21 out there.
How can they get him more involved in the offense, or why aren't they getting him more involved in the offense?
It goes back to what we've talked about with Brown and Tatum. I think when they have the ball, they don't put him in positions to touch the ball unless it's a lob. Brown's obviously missing a ton of reads out there. We kind of know that he's not the best playmaker this season. And then Tatum, I feel like more often than not, is utilizing him to set up mismatches and just attack those. So it goes back to some of the stagnancy of the offense, whether it's Brown going to shoot rather than going to pass, or Tatum lining up mismatches, which I think is what's caused him to be more stagnant in recent weeks. You just see him going at these small guards again and again, trying to line these up. How many times did the Celtics commit offensive fouls too, trying to line up mismatches? Horford had a big one in crunch time as they try to go at Randall after he picked up the 5th foul there. So these guys they're not focusing enough on movement and activity right now. This is Brown and Tatum.
No
Because
doubt.
all you have to do is put the ball in Rob's hands in the high post, and he's just going to make something happen. You don't really have to do anything too complicated. And that goes back to what Joe said post-game. If they're getting bored with anything right now, it's making simple plays that they need to do in order to be functional on offense. And how simple is throwing the ball to Rob in the high post? It's as simple as it gets. They really don't have to run anything profound in those spots. And yeah, we know how they're going to run their offense. It's player-led. Joe's not super involved, and these guys they know what they need to do.
I'll say this. Can Rob once, when he is given the ball at the top of the key, at least get into triple threat position a single time? Just one time. Like when he does catch the ball at the top of the key, he's literally got his back to the basket and he's just like, who do I give it back to? You know, it's like it's such an obvious rental.
His mind is not in attack mode.
Just once. Just square up, man. Make people think you might take a free throw jumper.
Imagine if you took a jump shot, Twitter would explode. Celtics Twitter would explode.
You at least
you
have
could probably
to
count on
them,
one hand how many he's taken this year.
But he doesn't even square ever to the basket with the idea of what if you got some big, stakey, goofy big on you? You think he can't take one dribble down the lane and get up and over that guy?
He does it around the basket sometimes.
He can do it around the basket. I'm so perplexed. Like, catch it, turn, square, and at least make them think you might actually be thinking of attacking the basket in some way. But even when he does come and catch it, he's back. He's not even looking. It's hot potato. He gets rid of it immediately. It really is. I don't think he's helping himself. I think they're like, I could give it to him, but what's he going to do? You know, he really does have to look. All he's doing is giving it back to the perimeter when he's getting it at the top of the key. He's not standing around looking to do something, looking for cutters. You know, he's not doing anything with it.
And he's one of many guys among the role players playing indecisive right now. I wrote about Grant the other day. You saw it again, how they take him out of the corners by closing out.
He's hard. A mess right now.
Yeah, you see White, the way he plays. I thought he could have been much more aggressive this game, attacking Brunson and trying to inflict some foul trouble on him. He got an early one on him, and then you didn't see White driving or calling for the ball much of the rest of the game. So a lot of these guys can just end up standing around out there and grow uninvolved because they're following the Jays' lead. And I thought this led to a disastrous bench effort in this game. And they put Brown out there with the bench. Did you notice that, John? It felt like Brown was leading the second unit more often in this one, probably because they needed Tatum to play with the starters more because Smart wasn't there. I really don't know why.
At the beginning of the fourth quarter, it was in there, but I think that's part of their regular rotation. I know that. So you always get two stretches of Jalen with the bench.
Late first or beginning of the fourth.
Yeah, and so you got it there at the beginning of the fourth, and that's when the Knicks kind of got up to about 12, so that got a little bit ugly.
I found Knicks burner.
I was literally just going to say, there's Knicks burner. It's so funny you pulled that message.
That's why
this is so obviously Knicks burner.
Yeah, Nick, come out. Come out wherever you are.
Come on, Nick. We got you.
Yeah,
we got you, buddy.
Anyone who brings up Bird.
So obviously Knicks burner.
Somebody said
this team worries me a little bit sometimes.
That's the thing, Bobby. That's what we said on Spaces, right? Like, that's what throws me. The reason I can't ever fully buy in is even when they're playing like world beaters and just stomping people, you can see the reverse. And the problem is we just see them too much. Every team does it, but you can see them go bad so fast and it's so ugly. And you're like, what are they doing? Have they ever played basketball before? You know, you see, and it's all, you know, what's weird? It's almost like an addict is like, can hold on for so long, but like, you know, the pull is so strong and you could go back. So, and like going back to the worst habits that you have.
Dark.
No, but you know what I mean? It's like
a chocoholic, let's say.
chocoholic. How about somebody who loses a ton of weight? Doesn't matter, whatever it is. Like
Yo-yo.
The food's right there. You know, the Celtics can yo-yo so easily, and
Let's
it's just
say,
like,
like,
oh, I
somebody
want it.
who
I
is
want an
addicted to
ISO. I want
pies,
that
for
pizza. You know, Grant wants that pizza. You know that.
Should we go to
Okay,
Grant?
Hold on,
So-
real quick, before we go to Grant.
Yeah.
Somebody in the chat said something along the lines of Robert Williams needs to be more like Bam Adebayo. Is that possible? Like, can we ever see Rob Williams put up 30 and 15?
Not
I don't
at
think
this
so.
point.
Oh, Bam's
I think
polished.
I think the ship sailed.
I know, but
Rob's
there was a
just-
time where I think we thought that Rob's offensive game would evolve to some extent. Now, obviously not to Bam's level.
Bam's been
but-
pretty polished early. Rob is clearly just not gonna do this basketball thing.
He hasn't
forever.
really improved at
Yeah.
all on offense.
This
No.
might not be Rob
Like
might not be
zero.
long for this game. Yeah.
I mean,
You can argue he's gone backward this year. He just leans into offensive rebounding.
I think
more
he's
and
gone
more.
way backwards this year. I think he was better.
I think at this point,
I
again,
think he
the
was
only
better the
reason I'm
second
not,
half of 2 years ago than he is right now.
and
Honestly,
the only reason he's not getting as much criticism is because people just don't know if he's hurt or not. But at some point, it's like, all right, what are they gonna? What can they get from this guy on offense? He
what's he
keeps
been
plays
back, a
alive.
month?
He gets them, second chance point opportunities, but like they're not even looking for him. They're not even like wanting him to shoot. Like, when you're like playing a game and the big man gets a couple shots, and you kind of like, there you go. Like, I feel like they don't even want to see him take a field
Well,
goal.
this goes back to the conversation we're having about Brown and Tatum right now. Part of their job is to get these guys going, and we talked about this a year ago when we were doubting this team's viability. Do they make teammates better? Didn't Goodman get a comment about that at some point, John? Probably like
Yeah, that was a
sometime
while
last
back, yeah.
season.
and everyone loses their minds when he says stuff like that. And it's like the most obviously true thing that like no Celtics fan wants to accept. Like,
Oh, of course.
certainly Jaylen Brown does not make teammates better. And again, this is all my entire beef with him. It doesn't. I don't care that that's the case. I just care that people say otherwise. He doesn't. He just doesn't. He's not a playmaker. He's got tunnel vision. He's just a great, great scorer. But it's very obvious that that's the case there. But when Tatum starts going in that direction too, Bobby, and he gets into that kind of ISO mode, you're right. It goes in that direction.
Yeah. One positive you can say though is that they're playing at a high level defensively right now when they turn it up and when they have double big out there. I mean, the Knicks shut off when they went to that lineup. So I want to see more of that. I want to see them continue to build their rotations around that group. And to the trade conversations we've had, having another high-level big to keep two bigs on the floor doesn't seem like a terrible idea right now. This team, John, we're going to get into it, but if they're going to win a championship, given some of their flaws offensively, and they've made enormous strides to grow the offense. I don't think they get enough credit for what they're capable of on that end after looking so bad even a year ago. They're going to have to do what they did at the end of this game to really shut down some games and win big games late this year. And I don't think it's any surprise that they've tried to shift their identity back in that direction once the shooting came back down to earth. They're as good as anybody on that end when they have everybody available. And it's got to be their identity. So, like, you're looking for defense at this deadline, I think. Like, another great defensive, big, sizable piece.
I'm never looking for defense.
Who can really just solidify them as that number one
Nah.
defense.
The problem is,
John, even if you
again,
get the best shooter in the world, we're still going to talk about these problems. with
you
Brown
need
and
the
Tatum.
best shooter in the world.
You have
If you get the
him,
best
Sam
shooter in the
Hauser.
world, a lot of your problems are. Oh God.
Well, Hauser right now.
You keep
Get
telling
him
me
to
Grant
take
is the
great
best
looks.
shooter in the world.
It's too late.
And
It's too late for
Grant.
this, Bobby.
And Grant, like these guys, you have the shooters. Brogdon, like you have three of the best shooters in
You
the
calling
game.
Grant
But you got to set
the
them
best
up.
shooter in the game?
We'll do, Christian.
So that's the problem is you do have guys who can knock down some shots and
What's up,
you've got to
Christian?
set them up. So now we got to start talking about whose problem it is that we're not setting them up.
They're on the screen.
Doesn't everybody always say surround these guys with shooters and it'll be fine? Well, you're right, Bobby. Statistically, you have between Horford, Brogdon, Hauser, and even who did we just leave out?
Grant.
And Grant. You have 4 guys shooting over 40% from 3-point
Pritchard?
line.
You have a ton.
Yeah, but they're not in the court, dude. They're not earning time on the court to even shoot. I'm talking about Grant and Pritchard.
So
right
you
now.
might start looking at a bigger problem, which is if
And
you actually
Hauser.
have guys.
Those guys
who are-
can't get on the court.
What we're saying is, again, if you've got Brogdon shooting 45% from 3, Horford is down. Obviously, he was a ridiculous clip. 42. Grant is still 42. Hauser's down to 39. That is better. That is still better shooting. The problem is those
Hauser's
guys were
down to
all around
39.
50 for half the season, and now they're shooting much closer to whatever. But you're right. You're right. Someone's got to, if that's what you wanted, someone's got to get them the ball a little bit more in the right positions to take those
They
shots.
just have to stand in the 3-point line. They're not shot creators.
And then someone's got to get them the ball.
Exactly, but they're not. They're
Well,
not
who has
getting
the
their own
ball the
shots.
most?
Tatum and Brown.
Tatum and Brown.
So again, it kind of goes back to what Bobby said about maybe Marcus Smart missing is a big factor, and these guys not getting clean looks, not getting the right
Yeah,
shots.
you can
not getting
imagine him
shots.
coming back. You can imagine him coming back in a week or two and the offense just taking off. That's happened so many times when he's gone out. And we've seen.
I
them
can
slip
imagine
across
also a
the
world
league.
where everybody starts to feel the way I feel about Jaylen Brown. I think we're not that far from it, honestly.
They're
Well,
trying to speak it into existence.
I just
Where
don't
he-
think we're that far. I think people are going to see it. The more the
You
expectations
think so,
are
John?
raised,
People were clamoring him to be named a starter, and the
I was
some
just,
people
I was
are
just
going to
gonna,
go that way.
I was just gonna go there, Jimmy, because you look at how the votes shook out there. Third in the player vote. All right, he fell just short. Media voted him second. Media showed respect. Fans. The fans fell 2 million short. They weren't even close to getting him the fan points.
well, he's
Where
up
were the
against some
fans
pretty
for
big
Brown?
names.
Where
I
the
know,
fans-
but
he's a polarizing player.
listen, people think we hate Brown. The media gave him second. Where were the fans?
Yeah,
Ooh, Bobby calling out the chat tonight.
right. It's you
Bobby-
and you and
Bobby
you
calling out
and
the
you
chat
and
and the
you
fans.
and you.
Yeah.
and
Where are
you.
the fans who say we don't talk about Jalen? Well, maybe they don't vote for Jalen. How about that?
95 for Mitchell, 52 for Brown. Brown won the media vote emphatically over Irving, Halliburton. There were really only 2 guys among the media for the guard spots.
It should have been Halliburton and Mitchell.
Mitchell's a
Kyrie's
beast.
unbelievable. I mean, the players really backed him too.
Players love Kyrie.
I
They
can't
love
figure it-
Kyrie
I can't
because
figure it out.
because he's pretty. They love the style. It's pretty, man. Like he just does stuff that like people they marvel at him. People love
But
that.
Mitchell's
skill set that he
nasty
has.
though.
Mitchell
Yeah.
was a slam dunk. I mean, everyone thinks he should have been there. But
Of course.
the question was Brown, Halliburton. I mean, Kyrie obviously among fans, Harden.
Yeah, Harden. come on.
DeRozan. The funny thing's Trae Young coming 12th in the player vote. Doesn't that say something too?
Yeah. He's falling off, huh?
Only 13 players voted for Trae Young.
Damn. Well, they probably didn't like all the drama that was. Maybe.
I don't think they like the way he
cared.
plays, all the foul baiting. Well, I guess
Yeah.
that goes for Harden too, and he did much better. But I don't know. Something's missing with Young, and I guess it's good. The players obviously have a pretty healthy respect for Brown too, but the
Yeah,
fans,
Trey-
man, fans didn't show up. I
Fans
actually
didn't show
heard.
up.
I don't know who it was, but I did hear a Celtics official in the hallway tonight complaining about the fan vote when it came to Brown.
Well, there it is.
Boo friggin' who. Going
Well,
back
the
to what we were
Celtics
talking
marketing team needs to.
About, yeah.
Get
Going
the-
back to what we were talking about the shooters. It is interesting though, Bobby, because we're trying to figure out if it's real or not, and a lot of the you look at the percentages and they look good, but you do have to factor in that it was unsustainably high for so long and it's come back down to earth. If those numbers all settle in at the end of the year at like 36-37% for those guys, which means they keep dropping and dropping and dropping to regress to the mean, then they really are the same team that they've always been, which is okay, right? Teams want White to shoot. Doesn't matter if he's actually shooting at an okay clip recently. But I don't know. I mean, you still do you have faith that if they just keep doing it and keep playing for the three and keep shooting 45 threes a game and have guys like Hauser and those guys launching them, that they'll be fine?
I think they have enough in terms of personnel for sure.
Yeah.
And you think Brown and Tatum are probably going to improve at some point too. I mean, their shooting this year is really strange, and that's probably something I'm going to follow up on at practice tomorrow.
Well, I mean, this is a year and a half of Jason Tatum shooting exactly like this from three, to tell you the truth. So, and it's the third straight year that his percentage has gone down. So,
and Brown's had the slippage too since early in his career when he was great from three.
Well, Brown peaked that year, then he shot 40%, and then the last 2 years he's dropped again. So Brown has also gone down 3 straight years. So, I mean, yeah, but it's, you dropped from 39, he dropped 4 points. So again, you have to look at the 39%, the 40% season as being the outlier. He's a career 36%, somewhere around that range. He's shooting 33 this year. Shot looks flat, flatter than ever, and it's hurting him on his free throws and his 3-pointers.
Yeah,
but it's working on his mid-range when he's. You know what's funny is you almost wonder whether I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I'm getting into the mechanics of shooting. Is Jimmy frozen like that, or he's just been sideways for this long?
He's frozen in real life.
I was just looking at Twitter. I was reading a quote from Jason Tatum.
He's been like that the whole.
He's frozen.
Bobby,
in real
I
life.
wonder this. Does it make sense that
Give him a
Jaylen
load
Brown,
management night?
Jaylen Brown's best shot is that mid-range where he gets way up and he basically does line drive it at the rim. That when he's shooting free throws and when he's shooting 3-pointers, where obviously free throws he's not leaving the ground, and 3-pointers he's not jumping nearly as high as he is on those mid-range, that the flatness of that shot that he's drilling from mid-range is what's killing him from those two spots.
It's a fair point. Yeah, that's another good question to ask tomorrow if we end
just
up talking.
Mechanically speaking, because it looks flatter than ever, and I wonder how much of that is just because that's how he's releasing it on those.
Yeah, because he shouldn't be
contested jumpers.
For Tatum, you're looking at the hand, obviously, that he's hurt with, and then you look at the pressure that he probably draws on those shots. He probably gets more pressure than ever before. Early in his career, he was getting all those wide open catch and shoot threes. For Brown, yeah, you do have to look at something technical, I think, there. And I could see that mid-ranger coming into play, how much he's worked on that and leaned into that shot. And the other concern I have there, John, is he's shooting so good from that spot, he can only regress from mid-range. So, there's another point that he could come back to earth from that would further regress his game offensively overall. So, only Durant was shooting better from mid-range, right, to start this year. And I don't think he's Durant from mid-range. Maybe he's reached that level and he's just going to keep rolling there. But you can project a lot of this stuff coming back to earth. And I don't think they're as bad as shooters as they've been. They are bottom 5, 10 in 3-point shooting since that November mark.
The reality is this, and the numbers tell the story. Jason Tatum is a horrible pull-up shooter. But it's one of his favorite things to do. So it's just something that he's got to stop doing. Just numbers. He's one of the worst pull-up shooters in the NBA. It's really not a good shot for him, but it's his favorite shot to take. And that's that, last year before the first half of JT, you'd see a lot of that. He was taking it and he just wasn't making it. But that's his favorite thing to do. And it's to set guys up and to hit that and to shoot that pull-up. It's not his thing. It's not his bag. It's not
my bag, baby.
They're 23rd in 3-point shooting since November. The Lakers are a little bit better over that stretch. Yeah. The Lakers are the worst shooting team probably of the last 10 years.
Pretty bad. Well, historically, the first month or so, they were the worst shooting team ever.
Yeah, they were miles.
They were 23% from 3 for the first 5-6 weeks of the season or something. It was unbelievable.
So there's some trends emerging.
Yeah.
LeBron's all-star starter.
Speaking of trends, LeBron's a freaking. I mean, my God, he's in his 20th season and he's ahead of his career averages in everything. That's just not human. He's not a human.
He's like Brady.
The other night was.
He's ridiculous, man. Speaking of regressing. Grant Williams, I'm not even giving him $10 million anymore, Bobby. Okay.
Wow.
I'm
He's
making him a
losing millions by
qualifying.
the game here.
I'm making him a qualifying offer and calling it a day. He is not getting a $20 million offer sheet, my friend. He's not getting an $18 million
I think we
offer
know
sheet.
I think we know that he's not going to get 20.
He's not getting a $16 million offer sheet. He's not getting the bag.
Doesn't look good right now. I did hear after that Rui trade went down that Rui had passed up like 12, 13 million from the Wizards. So, if Grant's better than him, they're both sort of shooting for that mid-teens to high teens toward 20 amount annually. So,
everybody wants that, right? If
Yeah.
you're not a max guy and you're
So
just
am I.
another guy, that's what you want that second contract to be, right?
Hey, I said it, John. They made the right move not doing it and waiting. Because you had 1 year on the books. And I love Grant. You had 1 year on the books of him being great. You had the second year where it was horrible. Remember I said play him in that Brooklyn series and you just got off the show? That was where we were at with Grant, first round of the playoffs that year. And then rookie year, he was just kind of a grinder off the bench, just kind of like a defensive specialist. So what is he between those three? I think he's still closest to the last year production overall. Like, who is he? But he's got to find a way to shake this slump he's on right now. And so much
He's probably
of
a
it's
$12 million year player. Somebody would give him that.
You'd be thrilled if you could keep him for that, I'd say. Again,
years,
like I said,
36.
I look at I used the Brandon Clark deal. He got 52 for 4. I thought that's Grant's range. Again, you can argue who's a better player. Do you think they're in different stratospheres of the NBA?
No,
That's
they're the same.
They're the same kind of guy. Clark's a good rebounder. He can't shoot, but
4
he gives
years,
you different
50
things.
million for Grant.
4 and 52 is what he got. That's the range. That's who he is. That's the guy he is. I think anything beyond that is insane.
Yeah,
I do
and
too.
in recent months, teams have reduced the amount of threes he's able to take. He's more like 3
Yes.
a game now.
And that's
he
what
gets
he's
6 off tonight, which is great. But
yeah.
and then if your percentage is going to slip pushing past that, like it does here, it's tough to justify a major offer, and that's why I like them not going for it. You have a lot of money and tough decisions ahead to pay, and the tough thing with him as we approach this deadline, and you've talked about it, John, I'm not going there. You've gone there, and I'm so interested to see how it shakes out. If this front office doesn't like him, doesn't think that he's worth it, do they make that move right now and say, let's go get a PJ Washington, or let's go get another comparable guy that we can keep at a money we like and can do similar things?
Yeah. You can decide, I'm just going to ride it out with Grant, and if someone takes him, fine. And if not, I'll bring him back for cheap.
I don't think
next
enough
year.
people are talking about this, John, for sure.
Yeah. And bring in my guy who I'm going to give the Grant money to, because you're right, that money goes away. You got to get somebody in here who you might consider giving that money to. And maybe that is who it's, if they don't like Grant, bring in the guy who you would rather give money to than Grant and pay that person. And again, we use the Fournier example, and they ended up not paying him, but that's kind of where you're at. Bring in that guy and then pay that person that money.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it to Grant, because you don't want him to walk for nothing. You don't want to not have anything else to replace him, because
if you
you
lose
can't
him
just
for
go out
nothing,
and
you're in a
spend.
tough spot. Yeah,
You're in a tough spot.
You can't replace him, and you need him defensively, I think.
Yeah.
At least last year you did. I don't think you get through that Brooklyn series as easily without him, and you certainly don't win the Milwaukee series without him.
Yeah.
But that goes back to his role as a specialist, and there's certain matchups. I think there's a good point tonight too, right? Those big grinding teams that go at you head on. He's well built for that. Horford's well built at that. Philadelphia, you can throw them in the mix of teams with Milwaukee and Brooklyn. They're just going to attack you head on. This Knicks team, a little bit of movement, a little bit of activity, and a ton of transition bothered the Celtics. And you saw it with Oklahoma City even. The athleticism and the burst and the just sort of activity of those guys. Fast team.
Yeah.
Knicks bench plays just like that when you think about Quickly, when you think about Obi Toppin. These guys can really bother Grant. They can really bother Al. They can really bother Rob, certainly.
Yeah, look, if you play professional basketball and athletic people bother you, that's not great, right?
Yeah,
like,
and this is a matchup.
It's like,
stuff.
if your problem is athletic people, then you've got a problem, because it's a really athletic sport.
What do you think on Grant, Jimmy?
What do you mean? What do I think? I mean,
Jimmy hasn't been listening for 35 minutes, and
That's
he's just
not
waiting
true.
us to end the show. Yeah.
That's not true. I mean, I've already said everything I think about Grant. I think he is what he is. I'm.
But what
kind
are
of-
you thinking about
small.
him going toward the trade deadline? You keep him?
I'm a
You
little
look to move
hesitant.
him? Yeah.
I'm hesitant to do something like that only because
He's
I
small.
think this team is constructed when healthy to win a championship. So I don't know if I want to do anything too crazy. Now that being said, it depends on who's available. I mean, I don't know who. I mean, Bobby, you'd probably have a better idea than I would. I mean, I know that they need wing depth. I know they need like a kind of another big, I guess, but Grant is a little bit of both of those things. So, you kind of have to just wait. I guess if you think there's a better fit, then go for it. But I'm not high on Grant. I've said that in past seasons. I just think he's a bit of a tweener. I don't really think he has a true position. I understand that he's really improved his three-point shot, but you just talked about how a lot of teams are kind of taking him out of that. He's not a guy that's going to create his own offense, certainly. He's not going to create shots for himself. He's a hustle guy, I'll give him that, but I think
His
he's
defense is really good.
I think
overall.
I think he's a good piece for a winning team, which is why I wouldn't want to just trade him for nothing. But
you
I
know
just
what he is.
don't want to give him 20 million. I don't want to give him 15 million. Exactly. So that's where I kind of draw the line is like if we're talking about re-signing this guy for an exorbitant amount of money, like I'm not interested in doing that. Okay, let's read this comment. Kes.
I agree,
Kes
Kes.
is a
We
good
said-
friend of
Kes,
ours.
we
This
said
is
this.
not serious podcast right now. What are we saying? We're not going to the finals now? Am I the only one with league pass? Every top tier team is going through their version of this.
We said it.
this year.
We've watched Milwaukee eat shit. We've watched a lot of good teams play
Golden
a lot of bad
State,
basketball.
yeah.
No one's mad about.
Brooklyn.
No one's saying that. We qualified that at the beginning of the show. We watched the Celtics a ton, so everything's under a microscope, and every team has gone through this. And we did say that at the
This
beginning,
is the second one for the Celtics, possibly.
respectfully, but we did say that.
We're also
But-
going off the fact that I think for the first time they didn't do the "we're gonna be fine tonight." Like I think they actually really hated this loss.
The problem is this.
Good.
It's their
It's
first
not-
three-game losing streak.
It's not
this year, right?
going to be fine. It's again.
No.
It's
Didn't happen.
they
Didn't
played
happen in West.
so ridiculously well for a stretch. They've played pretty mediocre for a longer stretch. And at some point you got to recognize that it's not a bad stretch that they just lost 3 games and we're losing our minds. It really is like a month plus of like really inconsistent
They had-
basketball and bad offense, like objectively bad offense and inconsistent defense. For half the season, it's been inconsistent. And for the first part, it was off the charts better than we've ever seen and ever could have imagined. And that's greatly offset. If they only played pretty good in the first half, there'd be a pretty frustrated fan base right now. I think it's a little bit of fool's gold with what they did early on. I'm not saying they can't get back there, but they were at a level that was ridiculous that nobody saw coming with an interim coach and a bunch of guys just friggin' knocking down threes at a 50% clip and just stomping people. They've been mediocre or worse for a long stretch of time right now.
Yeah, and that's why I want to see them lean back in the defense because we know that they can do that every night. That's why they won 22 with 25 last year, late down the stretch. Is they just killed everyone with their defense, and you saw it tonight late. The Knicks couldn't do anything once the Celtics put that double big lineup on the floor. So I'm glad that they're starting that again. Let's be real; they played one game with their starting lineup from last year in the start as starters. So. Once they get that back, I think the potential is still enormous. I think they're rightfully the favorite in the East.
We lost you, Bobby.
Did he just go away?
We lost his audio.
It's just a black screen? He's muted.
No.
He's on.
No, he's not a black screen.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Are you watching?
You got me now?
Yes, we do.
It
So-
blinked out for me.
Their offensive ceiling is still very high when they do all the things they need to do. Their defensive ceiling, when all their guys are available, equally high. That's why they're the championship favorite. I don't think anyone else has that kind of two-way ceiling. But they're inconsistent.
They still have the highest ceiling, yes.
They're inconsistent. And I think their record spells that out. Their offensive and defensive results over the last month or two spells that out. And it's great that they had that 9-game win streak. I think that's probably about as good of a stretch as they played over this recent.
Yeah, look, they
stretch,
sped
but-
out, and again, even with a 9-game winning streak, just from a record perspective, forget digging into the numbers because the numbers tell a worse tale. But they were, 21-5 before the Golden State game, and since then, doing the math, what are they now? 35 wins?
Yep.
Yeah, they're 14-10. 14-10 is slightly above average, gets you a 6th seed in the NBA winning percentage wise. Okay,
It's like what the Knicks have been.
it's 26 games and 24 games. Half the season they've been pretty okay, and that's factoring in a recent 9-game winning streak. Just goes to show you again where they've been since the Golden State game, which we all kind of freaked out. Me more so than most, freaked out a little bit about.
To be
was
fair,
ugly.
that does go in line with injuries starting to pop up. So
Injuries starting to pop up, but you also got Rob back.
I think Brad's gonna do something. I'm gonna just put that out there. He's shown that he will.
I think they need to do something. It doesn't have to be huge, but it does feel like they're missing a little something in their rotation right now. We've
I also think they need to go watch film from those first 5 games.
Oh, they practice tomorrow, and we'll be
Go
there.
get him, Bobby. All right, we're going to let Bobby go because he's got to practice tomorrow. And what else are we going to say about this? You really just want to see the next game
Lakers.
and see how they do. So we appreciate you guys joining us. We got the Lakers on Saturday. Jimmy's got a gig, so he's going to promo it. Where are you going, Jimmy, tomorrow?
Wait, I wanted to talk Patriots.
Oh, are we?
I'm not.
Can we do
sticking
5
around.
minutes? I got a gig tomorrow at Hunters and
Jimmy
Southie.
John podcast. I'll see you guys Saturday.
Bobby's gonna be there tomorrow, 5 to 8, Hunters and Southie. I'm gonna be playing with a buddy of mine. Gonna be joining me actually. I actually got a brand new guitar today. That's not coming out tomorrow, but I did get a brand new guitar. I kind of want.
Nice.
I will be there, Jimmy. I'm free tomorrow.
Ooh, there you go. So if anyone wants to meet Bobby, he's gonna be at Hunters and Southie. Check out this guitar that I got today. Look at this sexy beast.
That is sexy.
Yeah.
Look at
This
the
is-
flame. It's just
Yeah.
do the
Gonna be
do the Chris
shredded.
Guest, yeah.
Absolutely shredded. Patriots. Let's just talk brief. Bobby, you can go. I know you got things.
I'm
to
out of
do.
here. See you guys.
All right, John. I want to get your take on. We did mention it off early in the show. We mentioned this Herald article, Andrew Callahan, Karen Garigian, the podcast version of the. Can you confirm? So the podcast version of this article is it's a CLNS podcast. Is that correct?
It's a CLNS podcast with Andrew Callahan.
Yeah. This is one of the best articles of the whole year.
It's by far, I read it first thing in the morning, right when they tweeted it, texted Andrew, this is phenomenal. He said he was potting with Karen later in the day. We came out around 4 o'clock, so it's been out for a few hours now. So check out the pod.
So
Yeah.
the podcast is fresh.
Podcast
I'm going to
is
listen
fresh.
to it because I'm very I'm intrigued by it. This is like good under the hood info that people have been clamoring for all year. What the hell is going on inside Gillette Stadium this year? That was the question that literally every single Patriots fan, pundit wanted to know is who's calling the shots in there? Is anybody calling the shots? Are the players running the show? Is there a disconnect between the coaches and the players? Do they have any respect for the coaches? We pretty much got all those answers confirmed that the players and the coaches had an extreme disconnect. The players did not take the coaches seriously. And I'm talking about Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, who was significantly dragged in this article, Joe Judge. I don't even know how Joe Judge can return to the team after what I read. I mean, if you're a player, do you even want to look at this guy? I mean, it sounds like he came in with like trying to prove something and didn't have the clout to act the way he did. The players didn't grasp it. The players did not like sort of run with anything
No, guys,
that he was
Andrew
going.
Callahan from the Herald, people are asking. Keep going, Jimmy, sorry.
You can stop me whenever if I'm off. On
No,
anything I'm
you're
saying.
doing the right thing, yeah.
But essentially, it comes down to kind of what we thought, that the Patriots offense was in shambles all year due to a coaching staff that was underprepared. And this was something that the players realized all the way in the beginning of training camp. I think I read that, what's his name? The center. Pretty much brought the team together and said, guys, we need to be better than this. We need to, play harder. Based on the way things are, we're not prepared for the season at all. And what did I read? That the playbook was like half of what Josh McDaniels came in prepared with for plays for this team. That Patricia and Judge came in with a playbook that was bare bones.
Yep.
Cut out half of their plays. Play action was gone, scrapped. And the players were sitting there saying, what the hell are we going to do? We don't have enough plays to run. We're going to get figured out too soon, and we're not going to have anywhere to go with it. And that's kind of exactly what happened.
Well, among the nuggets on the show was they installed this Shanahan sort of offense, and neither one had any experience. Then there'd be times in player meetings where they'd be doing stuff, and guys who had played on Shanahan offense teams would say things like, well, what do we do if the defense does this? And they were like, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge. Like, that's what you say when you don't have a freaking
when you
clue.
don't have an answer. In my life, I've always thought this, just in terms of like, you work places and everybody kind of acts like they know what they're doing. And I've always thought the true measure of somebody, whether or not they're actually worth a shit at their job, is when you go to them and you ask them a question, and if they know the answer or not. When they don't know the answer, they're like, yeah, let me go find that out. You're like, you're a fraud. You're a fraud.
Well, you can't
and
know
that's
everything.
The worst thing you could do. And the worst thing you could do is not be able to answer questions. Like, I'll have to look into that. If you have to look into it, you don't know what you're friggin' doing. If you're a coach and a leader and you have to look into stuff, let me go consult my coaching handbook. Like, you've lost all credibility. So they didn't have credibility to come in out of the gate. They dumped it all down, but the most
they dumped it down for themselves because they didn't know how to freaking coach the offense.
The most shocking thing, they didn't know how to coach it, and when it was going wrong, and then they wouldn't fix it and they wouldn't adjust it. But the most startling thing is just listening to Andrew and Karen talk about. They're like, we just started interviewing people because we're like, so what really happened? And they were like shocked how many people couldn't wait to talk to them, how much they were saying, and how much everything that they were saying could be so easily corroborated by other people, more than willing to confirm it. So you had a bunch of people in there who sat silent all year long and just took it, and inside they were raging. And like the best quote, all of it, one of the best quotes right up in the early in the article was, "I love Bill, but he effed us."
Yeah.
And like, and that's
honestly,
that's what it comes back to for me, Jimmy. Number one, above all else, I tweeted this at the beginning of the year, and people friggin' jumped down my throat, like lost their minds.
That happens a lot to you.
It does, but it was like everything happening right now is entirely Bill Belichick's fault. They're like, they haven't even played a game. Give it time. It's training camp. Defense is always ahead of offense. Every knucklehead who'd ever watched a snap of football could tell that this was an absolute clown show. Clown show from the get-go. It was a clown show. And it was so bad that you could see how frustrated people were. And it was so, but the hubris of Belichick, who lost his whole staff, dealt with brain drain, and was like, screw it, I'm just going to put in my guys. And whatever happens, happens. And yeah, he's never coached before, but who cares? He can do it. And it caught up to him. It was
Belichick had no answers this year.
It's Belichick's fault entirely. Everyone wants pelts. They want to pin Patricia and Judge's scalps to the wall and dance around them. It's Belichick's fault because he put him there in positions they had zero chance of succeeding. Right. And that's what kills me is Belichick is back, and he's the guy that they trust. And he's the guy who's like, he's never, the power of Belichick is what, Jimmy? He always knows what to do. He's never led us astray. When he says, follow this, do that, it always works. And so I just put my faith in him. And if I do that, I know that everything's going to be okay. How do you put your faith in Belichick again after this, after he just hung you out for an entire season with these guys leading the way and just made you embarrass yourself for a full season? It's so bad. The credibility, the trust is so bad.
Well, that's where I'm at now. It's like, is Belichick all there? Because how could he have put the team in this position? You know, I mean, you have a second-year quarterback.
Hubris.
Right, of course. But and that's what you're gonna have to be worried about now is, is he officially too big for his britches, and at the point where he's getting up there in age, and maybe he's a little too stubborn, and isn't as quick with the adjustments or quick to know what's going on. He has to have a strong coaching staff around him, and that's why I will say it is great that they were able to get Bill O'Brien back. I think that's the best case scenario for them, because you'll be able to know after next season if Mac Jones is worth being your quarterback or not. I think you truly will.
Yeah.
If Mac Jones has what it takes to be not just an NFL quarterback, but a winning quarterback that can take you places.
Yeah.
Worst case is that he's a top 15 quarterback and you're stuck in mediocrity. But Bill O'Brien will coach this guy. If Mac Jones wants to be coached hard, Bill O'Brien will certainly coach him hard.
He still sucks. I'm not a Mac guy, and I'm never gonna
I'm not
get
either.
there.
I'm not either. But this is their only this is their only option, John.
Yeah.
They're not going to go trade for Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to draft a top quarterback right now. So, but I think by bringing in O'Brien, this is them saying they're going to give Mac a shot. There's the outside chance that they go get Brady. I know that's what you think, but
I've been there for a while. I've always thought it's possible. Here's a couple good quotes again from the article, and then again, I urge you to listen to the podcast because it is good, because it really peels back the layers.
I'm gonna listen to it. For sure.
I've never seen anything like it. One source said it was disheveled. Another source said they were always scrambling to get things done. It's always been about winning and doing what's best for the team. Another source said, I really believe Bill when he says that. I just think he really didn't understand how hard it was going to be. And then the other one, I love Coach, but he effed us. Okay. And so that's multiple sources. And this is a bunch of people probably inside the locker room talking about Patricia and Judge and the number of plays. A lot of guys were worried because when we're in the middle of camp, we're wondering, what's the plan for our offense? We hadn't put enough install in. We had a couple protections, a couple plays, but that was it. We had nothing in it. Our pass game had nothing in it. A lot of guys would ask, and this was the Shanahan thing, hey, what happens when they do this? And they'd say, we'll get to it when we get to that. And that type of attitude got us in trouble. And by the end, they were just making 1,000 adjustments instead of building them in at the beginning, one source said. So just scrambling to adjust and to fix stuff after shit went wrong.
They mentioned how they just added play action into the game plan on the last game of the season, and Mac was perfect from under center in that. So it's why did it take so damn long for these things to happen? It just, and that's why you have to be concerned if you're a Bill guy. Is this guy still in the right mindset or headspace to freaking lead a team?
And why not fire a guy mid-season? The Joe Judge stuff. Here's another great one.
Why are they so loyal to Joe Judge?
Patricia came under outside fire as the face of the offense. Judge drew increasing criticism from within. Okay, and again, this is extremely vetted source, and this is one where Andrew and Karen said that they corroborated this through multiple sources. Belichick would blast Judge in practice. It wasn't uncommon for Judge and Jones to trade profanity-laced outbursts in practice. Jones' trust in his position coach was non-existent. Mac didn't like him, one source said, at all. And then, as you said, Judge would speak extra loud in meetings, acting like he was the guy, and nobody liked it. A third source, a lot of people were frustrated with Judge. Okay. They're and then another source.
This guy was a pinata.
Another source. What? Sometimes I wonder, are we trying to screw this up on purpose? So over and over and over again, talking about Patricia called scared the Bills game. That game was bullshit, one source said, about the scared play calling. These are people just piling on. One after the other. So it's a really interesting read, but it's troubling, man, right?
Bill's loyal, man. Bill's probably too loyal. He didn't want to throw Judge under the bus, and when you get fired, if Bill Belichick fires you mid-season, that put the kibosh on your coaching career. You know what I mean? So that probably had something to do with it, but I don't know why he's still sticking around now. I mean, really. Obviously, he doesn't have the reach of the players. I mean, those quotes are unheard of, really. I mean, when do you get stuff that, scathing?
Unheard of. And again, you can't. And so again, I want to stress the thing I said at the top of the podcast for anybody. when we're listening to Andrew and Karen talk about it, there was so much more that came their way that they did not publish because they couldn't corroborate everything with second independent outside sources. But the people who told it to them were trusted sources who delivered other information that was corroborated. They just couldn't corroborate every single one, but the anecdotal stuff that they were hearing on top of that, tons of it was like, no way that happened.
Did they
like
any of that in podcast? Or?
No, just kind of hinting that like it was shocking how far it went beyond what was printed. So this is tip of the iceberg.
So what's going to happen then? I mean, Patricia's still involved.
You got to get those guys
involved.
to F away from everything. I'm actually stunned.
You got to get them upstairs, right?
I'm stunned Judge is going to the Shrine Bowl and he's still part of things. He's not coaching anything, but he's still present, which is surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, based on that article, yeah, it's very surprising to me. I mean, if you're telling me that Mac and Joe Judge were just sharing, profanity tirades at each other, that's not like Brady and Bill O'Brien. Those guys had a mutual respect, and they both had success in this league, and that was tough love. It sounds to me like Mac and Judge just hate each other, or at least Mac hates Judge. Like, how is that conducive to freaking winning? It's obviously not. They're freaking horrible all damn year, and they were miserable, right? I mean, that looked like a miserable team from start of the year to the end of the year. This article just confirms everything that we thought. I mean, those guys did a ton of work in order to get those confirmations. I'm glad that they did, because it kind of validates everything I thought and everything we said.
And you need it out there, honestly, because I mean, again, not to get
somebody has to keep him in check.
Not to get all journalist preachy, but Andrew talked about at the beginning. There's a lot of people out there on Twitter, and it's, again, these are the Patriots blanket binky, fans that are like, as soon as something negative is said, it's hiding behind anonymous sources. Guys, this is the point of journalism. You're trying to hold power to account. You think if 3 players really wanted you to know how stuff was going in Foxborough because they thought the story needed to be told, that they could come out publicly and do it and then show up to Foxborough the next day and be like, "Hi, Bill."
Right.
You can't do that. Like, you can't do it.
I sent a link to my buddy Chris, and he goes, "Oh, I don't see any named sources in there." I'm like, dude. He's like,
this is literally how journalism works.
I'm like, find me an article with named sources. That's just not. It's never gonna happen. Like,
if you're holding power to account, the people who are speaking are taking tremendous risk even speaking to you. You know why?
Right. They're trusting.
You know why
that
half the time,
anonymous.
What's most annoying is, yes, you have media that have agendas. You have media that are compromised in the sense that they get played by the sources, and you've got transactional journalism, which has screwed people up, and you've got bad journalism, which is loose, meaning I heard it third hand, and I'm jumping out on it.
Yeah, exactly. Just toss it out there.
You've got that, and that discredits good journalism. And good journalism is talking to people, corroborating it, sharing your sources with your editors, making sure everything's been vetted before you let fly with some stuff. But the reality is, every time one of these quote unquote hit pieces come out from legitimate sources, the reality is the stuff they heard. And Jimmy, we worked in media. The stuff we heard that we didn't talk about and didn't print is 10 times more than the stuff that gets out there. When it gets out there, you actually feel pretty solid about it if you're credible. But the stuff you hear circulating, the anecdotal stuff from loose sources and loose talk, it's pretty significant. So again, they say it was way worse than what we were able to actually print.
Right.
And pretty substantial what's going out there. It's usually worse. The story is usually even worse.
And you know what? Like, I believe everything in this story specifically because, I mean, Callahan's one of the great, younger, newer writers, but Garigian's been doing it forever. She's one of the best. And she's got a ton of connections within the organization.
A ton of sources. People talk to Karen.
Tons of people. When I was on the beat, I was always watching her talk to whoever she wanted to. I was like, damn, she's awesome.
She's awesome.
All of her stuff's been awesome for years and years and years. Why would she doesn't need to make something up. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't.
Has she ever proven to have an agenda? Why would you assume she has one now? Right.
She doesn't even do the media. She doesn't even do TV or radio. She just does her job and she crushes it. So that's why I was I don't even question for a second anything in those articles. I don't care that they're unnamed sources. Like,
So
and also it's all very believable. You can watch the damn season. It wasn't like the players were hiding their, dissatisfaction with the outcomes of these games and the way it went about. I mean, just talk to them after the game.
yeah.
I mean, they were pretty forthright with it.
Yeah. What is interesting also, Jimmy, is, we've covered them. And again, Jimmy and I worked together at NBC Sports Boston. We covered a Super Bowl together back in 2015.
Dude, 8 years ago. Can you believe that?
I know. I was just remembering that run. I mean, I was fortunate and got to cover so many of those times, but we had a really good one. We covered that one against the Seattle.
That was so good. We had such a sick set.
It was a great set, great experience, great coverage. Very the favorite game, the best
game.
The best Super Bowl of the entire run.
Maybe of all time.
But we've been down to Foxborough a ton of times. Again, what's interesting now is because they run such a tight ship, you would never get these types of leaks. You might get one guy stepping out. You had 2009 one year, and that was like everything went bad that year. They lost control of the ship. You had the Dallas Thomas and the Jetsons and the late for practice and the snowstorm and all of that stuff. Like that whole season was off, and you could tell they lost a little.
Yeah,
they lost a little control, but it's rare.
Dallas Thomas. Yeah,
if this many people wanted to come out and get that story out there, that means there was a lot of people that were like, I'm really, really, really concerned with what's happening here. And I really think people need to know this because, and again, this is what sucks when you're under the Patriots' veil of silence. They don't talk about injuries, so a lot of people think players are wusses for not getting back early, and the players hate that. They don't talk about stuff that goes on the scenes. They don't explain. They don't ever give explanations for who did what bad or hold people accountable. They just stonewall everybody, and the players are like, so everyone thinks I suck. Like it wasn't me who sucked. It was this guy. Like, how the hell was I going to do it? So
like, who's the running back? I'm already blanking on his name this
Ramondre.
year. Yeah, I mean, they talked about that in the article, how he had like 100 or 200 more carries than the next guy. Yeah, they ran him to the ground. They had no. That was their only play call, I think, in the book. Handoff. 2nd and 19, draw play.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Brutal.
So yeah, you're right.
They wanted it out there, but I'm
a
little worried, Jimmy. I don't think Jim O'Brien fixes it, and Bill O'Brien fixes everything, and I still think Mac. I still think Mac is. I mean, I think middle of the pack is the ceiling for Mac. That's the thing.
But don't you think you'll know after this year? Don't you want to know?
Here's the thing. If they had the Miami Dolphins like weapons package, or like, if they had
they need to get another guy, yeah, for sure.
If they had stuff around and then you put but the thing is, Mac can go out with O'Brien next year, and they've got, and Jacoby Myers leaves, and they're left with Tyquan Thornton, Kendrick Bourne, and Devontae Parker, and some crappy third-round receiver they get that they'll never play. And that's what he's throwing to with those friggin' two tight ends. And by the way, Hunter Henry's the worst starting skill position player in the NFL. So if he's back with Jonnu, if that's what you're – how are you going to judge that? The offensive line – I mean, two of those guys played well. Two of the offensive linemen played well, Andrews and Onwenu. The other three played well below replacement level, like well below replacement level. So you need an overhaul on the line and every skill position except for running back right now. So, and if you get all of that, great. Then play calling, and then you can see what Matt can do. But what is he supposed to do with what he has right now? How good can this offense be with this personnel? It's terrible. They're terrible.
No, I mean, I agree. I think they're going to have to get another receiver in some way, shape, or form. But I think, regardless of if you're just going to look at the box score, then and make a determination on Mac Jones, then that might be difficult. But if you watch the games and you see, again, if it comes down to Bill O'Brien's, additional play calling, something that's more suitable for Mac Jones, you get an idea of what this guy's at least capable of, and you can probably say, okay, well, if he had another wide receiver, if he had a big target in the red zone, maybe he completes that pass. If he's still wildly missing receivers like he did this year, or if he's looking like scared in the pocket like he did a ton of times this year, then I mean, I would say then he's just not good enough or whatever. But I think you're going to get a bigger picture of whether or not, and again, this is at the end of the day, you're trying to win. You're trying to go to a Super Bowl, win a championship. I know that we're very, very far away from that right now with the Patriots, but that's the idea. It's a quarterbacks league. I mean, look at the quarterbacks that are in the AFC and NFC championship this year. They're all young guys. They're all. I think it's the youngest for since like 1997 or six or something like that. In fact, I saw that stat. I know it's a fact. It's the youngest for quarterbacks since 1996, and that was when it was like Bledsoe, Favre, or something like that. There are a couple other young guys. So it's a young quarterbacks league. You have to have one. And right now, the Patriots aren't close because Mac Jones isn't anywhere near the Burrows and Mahomes and all that stuff. But can he be a top 10 quarterback? I think that's something that we have to make an effort to look into next season, and that's why they're bringing Bill O'Brien in.
You got to start.
I
somewhere.
I don't think he can. Personally, I'm not a Mac guy. I think he's got attitude issues too. And that's another reason why I want Bill O'Brien to come in. Bill O'Brien won't take any shit.
Oh my God, no.
So
He will
we're
not.
we're gonna learn a lot about Mac Jones one way or the other. We're either gonna learn he's a winner or we're gonna learn he's a loser. So you might have to sacrifice another season. I hate to say it if you're a Patriots fan, but you don't really have a choice. It's not like this team's really built to make a playoff run anyways, as it is right now. Certainly it wasn't built that way to end this season. The second straight season where they've limped into the end of the year.
You have no choice but to hold on to Mac because you have so many problems elsewhere.
And he makes
good.
dirt. Yeah, and he makes no money. So if you're trying to bring in a couple skill players, this is the time to do it. And right now, they could certainly use some. I mean, the guys they brought in, you already mentioned, John Smith and Hunter Henry, two complete busts that they paid a lot of money towards. Aguilar's gone, thank God. He didn't do anything. I actually like Parker. If he can stay healthy, I think he's a guy that can do something. I don't know what's going to happen with Myers. And after that, it's like pray for rain. I mean, Bourne, he's done, right?
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's got one more, but he's in the doghouse. We'll see if he even makes the roster at this rate. So I don't know.
I think Bourne's going to end up being their best receiver next year. Truthfully.
He's good, but they don't freaking play him. So I don't know what's going to have to happen. And this you get on Bill O'Brien's good side. But also, we still don't know where's Patricia going to go. Why is Judge still employed? These are just crazy, crazy, crazy things. So
you're right, though. You can't have Judge in the building.
Not after
what I read. Huh?
Not after what I read today. I don't know.
You cannot. I don't think you can have him in the
building. I don't know
building.
why would they want to?
Yeah. Bourne's back next year at a pretty manageable number. So he's a good bargain, actually.
I remember when they made that signing. Everybody loved that signing, the Bourne signing.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money, a guy that can have an increased role. That's why it's so befuddling. Their usage again. Is it just stubbornness by the coaching staff? Oh, this guy wants to be Terrell Owens, or this guy wants to talk. Then he's going to sit in the bench, and we'll bite our nose off to spite our face type of situation. Like every time they put this guy in the game, he was effective. Bourne.
Fun stuff. Good article. Good podcast. Good conversation.
I need to get all that off my chest. Thank you.
No, at least there's something to talk about regarding the Patriots because I found this season to be just pathetic and dull, and really hard to get excited about anything because you knew where it was going early, and it was really hard to get into it. So, yeah. There's something to be said for kind of starting anew. And the problem is you really started anew 3 years ago and you're not really much farther along. So
worst part.
You kind of wish you could get there, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, we're going to wrap. This was the Patriots portion of the Garden Report, the Jimmy John Patriots podcast.
Yeah, that was a little Jimmy John preview, I guess.
A little Jimmy John preview. So we'll check that out. We'll get back to Celtics on Saturday. As again, Jimmy's got a gig on Friday, so make sure you check that out if you're in the South Boston area.
Yeah.
5 to 8 at
5 to 8. I usually play till 9 at Hunters. It's called Hunters. It's in South Boston. Great food. If you guys just want to go and grab a quick bite, I would highly recommend. The chef, I think I said this before, the chef of Hunters, Chef Lambo, we call him, he beat Bobby Flay on Bobby Flay's television show. His gumbo beat Bobby Flay's gumbo. It's unbelievable, and they sell it there. So if you're, it's kind of gumbo weather. It's cold out there. You're gonna want to just have some Southern comfort food. It's the place to go. And then I'll croon for you.
There it is.
There you go, Numanium.
Check them out. All right.
I'll be there.
Good night, guys. Thank you for watching. Celtics lose, Bruins lose, Patriots are losers, but things are trending up.
But I
believe,
still
so
love
that's
you,
a good
John.
thing.
I still believe in
I
you.
love you. Should we get it? Should we get it? One more time? Where is he?
believe in you.
Where is he? Oh
We still
God,
have it.
I wonder if Bobby was in on that.
He definitely was. We should have asked him about that one.
Oh man, I missed it. I wish we had. It was freaking so priceless. Let me see if I have it.
We
Yeah.
just
We'll
spoke
end
outside.
with
But Jalen
this.
is a guy who can kind of get down on himself, particularly after missing the free throws. Do you have a conversation with him?
I love you, Jalen.
Anything more than that, and anything going forward?
I love you, Jalen, and I believe in you.
I love you, Jalen. I believe in you.
Oh man. Joe.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, the coach. Anyway, good night, guys. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Take care.